Hello, thank you for joining me today. My name is Allison of Blossoming Heart Counseling, and today I thought I would gently guide us through a practice that is intended to help us be with the felt sense. The study of yoga is the study of self-inquiry and learning to be with what is present within us, with some acceptance and some self-compassion. Learning to listen to the needs within and sit with discomfort when there is something that you would label as uncomfortable. Many of us maybe had experiences in childhood where our parents had unresolved trauma themselves and they didn't necessarily know how to help us be with our emotions, and maybe they didn't teach us how to regulate ourselves or to work through or process challenges that we faced. And that might not be the case for everyone, but there might be some of you out there for which this is true. Regardless of whether it's true or not, the practice of yoga can help us be with challenging emotions and give us the sense that we can overcome and be with challenging situations. Pardon me. For now, we're going to start with just noticing the breath. You might either allow the eyes to gently close or find a soft place to gaze. And I want you just to begin to notice what's present and accepting your breath as it is. Sometimes we may feel like we need to shift or change what we're experiencing. And although it might be true that there might be short and shallow or a heightened arousal within the nervous system, before we can shift or change it, we first have to be able to accept it. Just allowing the sensations and the breath to be as they are. And if you're curious about deepening and lengthening the breath, you might consider breathing into the lower rib cage. You might consider inhaling on a count of 4, exhaling on a count of 4. And if you don't want to experiment with that, it is absolutely all right to allow your breath to find its own pattern. Today we're going to begin on all fours. If you'd like to join me, please do. And we're going to start with some gentle cat-cows with the breath. Inhaling cat. Exhaling cow. Finding your own rhythm with your own breath. Maybe noticing any sensations, curiosity and acceptance. And on the next inhalation, find your way to neutral spine and pause. And we're going to inhale the right arm up and exhale, thread the needle. And we're going to pause. You can either have your left arm out in front of you, or up ahead, or in a bind, or if you want to place it so that your left palm is on the ground. And you want your hips to be level and balanced. And we're just going to hold for a few breath cycles. For some, the sensations can be quite intense. And
And if you have the urge to move out of the pose, perhaps notice that urge with compassion and listen to whether or not it is because the body is in pain and needs to shift, or because there is a belief system that you can't do this. It's too much. And perhaps if there's a belief system that it's too much, offer it some curiosity and some compassion, and perhaps breathe into the sensations. On your next exhale, go ahead and lower your left arm if you had it in a bind or up, and press up, back to cat-cow. And we'll just take a couple cat-cows to reset. Returning to neutral. Inhale the left arm up. Exhale, thread the needle. Again, finding a position for your right arm that is comfortable. I'm going to bind today. Again, balancing the hips, settling into the pose. Perhaps noticing what happens when you breathe into the sensations with some acceptance and compassion for what's there. On your next exhale, placing your right palm on the ground, pushing up, back to cat 2-4, and do some cat-cows. And we're going to make our way to our stomach for broken wing. Going to place your arms in cactus. We're going to start with our left cheek on the mat, and we're going to inhale to prep, and as we exhale, place our right hand on the ground and twist towards the left. This is an opener for the chest and the shoulder. It also can be an opener for the hips. This also can be quite intense for some. Listening to your body, you never want to experience sharp pain. If you are experiencing sharp pain, perhaps decrease how deep you are in the pose. Experimenting with breathing into the pose. Breathing into the sensation. And on the next inhale, make your way to your belly, and we'll go ahead and transition right to the other side with your right cheek on the ground, pushing through your left arm. Breathing for a few breath cycles. On your next inhalation, make your way back to your belly. And we're going to go ahead and actually transition onto our back. If you have some blocks, I invite you to bring some blocks, or you can use a bolster. I'm going to set them up as a chest opener, and also if you're using blocks, it can be nice for releasing the muscles in the upper back. Some may want to have the blocks on the middle, others might want to have them flat. Again, you might want your head to be a little higher, you might want it to be lower, you also could do without. But we're just going to experiment with a chest opener. So when you're ready, we're going to transition down so that the block is resting under our shoulder blades. And we're going to put our feet so that our feet are resting against the bottoms of each other and our legs are out in butterfly. You can either have your arms down at your side, or if you want to increase the intensity of the sensation, you might place them overhead. This also can be quite intense. Sometimes chest openers can bring up emotions. So perhaps noticing if something arises, perhaps allowing it to be present and offer it some compassion and curiosity. Experimenting with breathing into what is. And we'll stay in this pose for a few breath cycles. Go ahead and hold for one more breath cycle. On your next inhale, go ahead and help your legs return so that your feet are on the ground. And we want to come gently out of this pose, perhaps bringing your forearms and removing the blocks. And we're going to remain on our back. Arms overhead for a full body stretch. We're going to gently bring the right or the legs so that the legs are on an angle and our upper body is on our angle, but we want our hips to be flat. This is banana pose. This also can be quite intense for some, so listen to your body's needs. If it's more comfortable for you to have your legs next to each other instead of having your left leg on top of your right leg, you can make that adjustment. Perhaps looking over your left shoulder. You might want to look straight up or even over your right shoulder. Breathing into any sensations that you feel. On your next inhale, return to center. And we're going to go ahead and transition to the other side. And each side might feel a little different. Make any adjustments that you feel you need to be comfortable in the pose. And hold for a few breath cycles. And on your next inhale, return to center. And we're going to return to a seated position. We're going to do a forward fold into caterpillar. If you would like to use a prop such as a bolster or a blanket, you may do so. I invite you to only go as far as is comfortable. We'll inhale, arms up. Exhale, bend forward. And this also can be quite intense for the back of the legs or the low back. So make any adjustments that you feel you need to so that you can hold the pose. Perhaps noticing any sensations with curiosity and compassion. Perhaps experimenting with breathing into any sensations that feel uncomfortable. And on your next inhale, rise up. And we're going to come to a seated position, perhaps with your right leg in front of the left leg. And we're going to do an opener for the shoulders. We're going to place the back of the right hand against the side of the body. And we're just going to pull the arm in. You want your shoulders to be down and away from your ears. And you want to, again, notice any sensations with curiosity, perhaps breathing into them. Go ahead and release, and we'll go ahead and do the other side. Holding for 3 breath cycles. And go ahead and release. Thank you for joining me today for this short practice, practicing being with self-inquiry and with the felt sense, with some curiosity, acceptance, and compassion. If you found this practice helpful, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, Blossoming Heart Counseling. I am a mental health therapist as well as a certified yoga instructor and trained yoga therapist, and I offer breath practices, yoga practices, meditations, as well as podcasts about mental health. I wish you well. Namaste.